What's up guys, I'm Ivan Calderon and welcome back to another episode of Beat Making Mondays. Today, of course, we are making a beat. So lately I've been making a lot of like smoother, chill, boom bap type beats. In last week's episode, we made a slower R&B jam. So for this week, I wanted to make something bouncier, maybe something in the trap realm. So that is exactly what we're about to do today. Now for this beat, I'm actually going to be using a sample, and this one here is a courtesy of the homie Playhouse. I've talked about him before. I'm going to link him down in the description box, so definitely check him out. But the sample itself is from a song called Warm by the artist Becky Hill, and it sounds like this. Now, as always, we also have some drums ready, and they sound like this. Now, usually when I'm making sample-based beats, I tend to alter the sample in some way or another, either by pitching it up or down, or maybe chopping it up. But for this time, I think I'm going to keep it the same. Now, I know this is probably one of the cardinal sins of production, but I am so in love with the progression and the sounds and the arrangement of this loop. I think what I'm going to do is maybe loop it and then just add stuff on top of it to kind of distinguish it and make it my own. So with that being said, let's go ahead and do that now. I'm going to just duplicate this once, duplicate these two again, make that into a loop, and that should sound like this. Now, to keep it from being so monotonous, I think what I'm about to do is maybe I'll change the chord progression of the next instruments that I layer on top of that. So let's get to it. I think we're done. Let's check it out. Now, if you guys take a look, the theme of this beat is definitely simplicity. There's not a lot going on, but it definitely works for me. So the first thing that we had, of course, was a sample. You guys saw me loop that, but by itself, it sounds like this. Now that just loops over and over again. I actually looped it 4 times. The only problem, like I said in the beginning, is that I didn't want it to be so repetitive, so monotonous. So I was very conscious of that whenever I laid down the keys. Now the keys by itself sound like this. And they kind of follow the same progression throughout this bit here, except for the end. It changes up here. And again, that's just kind of give it a little bit more flavor to kind of, switch it up a bit. And then the synth that I added afterwards followed the same chord progressions of the keys, and that sounds like this. So together with the keys and the sample. Now, what I loved about that synth is that it kind of had like this pulsating kind of feel, like this very bouncy kind of atmosphere, and that is exactly what I needed for this beat. Now, that is it as far as the melodic content goes. There's only 3 sounds. So like I said, it's super simple, but it definitely works. So moving on, next we have the drums, and of course we have a kick and a snare, and both of these sound like this. Next thing we added was an open hat. Then we added a close hi-hat. Now for the close side, I pitched some of those notes up and down just to kind of make it more interesting. And this is something that you can definitely do yourself just to kind of spice up your trap beats. So what I tend to do is whenever I have a roll, that is when I pitch it up and down. Not a rule, just something that I like to do. But if you take a look, here we have some 32nd and 64th notes, and combine that with everything else, it sounds like this. But it's a lot more interesting than just having like repetitive notes just, you know, going on forever. And then at the end, of course, we have some triplets. So the whole thing at the open hat, the snare, the kick, and of course a crash to kind of introduce everything. Now, the last thing I added to this beat was an 808, and this was my favorite part because I definitely think it added a very like special kind of greedy element to this. But the 808 by itself sounds like this. And in combination with all the drums. And then everything else. Anyways, that's it for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching. The beat will be linked in the description box. That'll lead you to my SoundCloud where you can listen to the final version. But again, thank you for watching. Like this video if you liked it. Subscribe if you're not already. But I will see you guys on the next one.